Oh, Danny boy, the pipes are calling from glen to glen and down the mountainside. The summer's gone and all the roses falling. 'Tis you, must go and I must bide. But coming back when summer's in the meadow, or when the valley's hushed and white with snow, I'll be here in sunshine or in shadow. Oh, Donny boy, I love you so. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the In All Honesty podcast. My fabulous name is and always will be Olive Orawo. First, you're wondering, why is this episode coming exactly a week after the last one? Because I want to put out a special shout out to a girl called Awar. She's following me on TikTok and she just came and commented on one of my random videos and she was just like, girl, put out another episode. I literally listen to your podcast every morning when I'm driving to work, and I was just like, wait, you guys listen? I have been slacking on this podcast because I just felt like probably no one will notice, no one is paying attention. And to think that there are actually people who are listening, and anyone else who finds this podcast entertaining, amazing to them, relatable, I am so happy. Probably you don't interact, probably you don't tell me you're watching, you don't tell me you're listening. But sometimes I actually, when I'm looking at analytics, I realize, oh wait, there's someone listening, and I am so happy. I feel humbled. I just feel really appreciated by that and motivated, and that's why I felt the need to just put out an episode this week so that Awar has something to drive to work to. Yeah. Thank you so much, love. And with that said, today I am talking about friendships in my life, how friendships has been for me, the experience, my type of attachment style, just many thoughts I have around friendship. Let me tell you, friendship to me is more challenging a topic than romantic, than mental health, than family. Friendships for me has been very it's not been stable, and I just don't know where to put friendship for me. But I'm just going to describe my experience and let it out there. And then one day, probably I'll be seated in therapy and I'll tell you how my progress in therapy is going and whether this is one of the things that I will need to address, because I am not sure whether it's a trauma. I'm not sure whether it's something I should be addressing. I don't know whether it's just a personality style that I should not be worried about. At this point, I am just sharing my own opinion, my own experiences. That's all. So that out of the way, let us start with my experiences with friendship. I have mentioned this in a previous podcast that I don't have, all my friendships are seasonal. I don't even have a friend from a previous place of work. I change my friends according to environment. I am in class 1, I will find a class 1 best friend. I am in class 3, I'll find a class 3 best friend. So that's how it has worked all my life. So this idea of people having friends from childhood, I'm just like, it's very foreign to me. It's very, very foreign. The idea of having a best friend is, man, that's one of the most, I was just like, how does it work to have a best friend? I don't know. I've never had one of those. And yeah, I guess that's one thing I'm trying to explain. So this is how it's been for me. In primary school, I had a different best friend. In high school, I had a different best friend. In fact, a couple. In school, I had a couple. In campus, different best friend. Place of work, I get you there, we click, we become best of friends. But when I move to a new place of work, I make a new friend and you just become an acquaintance. So I think this is one of the things that has been troubling me so much, because a lot of people just, then wonder, because sometimes I say I'm arranging a small dinner for my friends, and then my other friends realize that they were not invited to that small dinner, and they're just like, then who are we? And I am sort of trying to explain that for me, friendships can move from friendships to acquaintances, and it's not a bad thing. I feel like friendships, you outgrow certain spaces of friendships. I feel like friendships come because you share something in common. And this is in my experience. Like, let's say I was friends with you when I was working at company X. I was friends with you because we were probably going through the same shitty experiences. We probably hated the same people. We probably had the same friends and enemies. We could relate when we could sit and talk about something. Probably the topic was mostly around the company aspect, so people we knew from the company or people we've interacted with while working at this company. So once I move from that company and I completely have no tea, or I have no relation, or I just don't interact with those people anymore, I find that there's not much I can share with you outside of that. And so I think that's why my friendships have been seasonal, because they've always been in relation to what environment I met you in. Yeah. So I don't know whether it's a bad thing. As I've said, probably I'll address it in therapy, and then I'll give you highlights and progress. But I don't know if it's a bad thing to just have seasonal friendships, and for friendships to outgrow certain people, and to just settle into newer friendships and let the older ones be acquaintances. Because I see a lot of forcing issues with friendships where people are just like you haven't talked to someone in such a long while, but they're just like, I need us to like get coffee and catch up. I need us to like do a sleepover. But sometimes you meet and you realize there is nothing new to discuss. Let's say we worked at company X together in 2016. Right now, if we sit together, we don't know what company X is up to. We don't even care what company X is up to. The people who we met at company X, we don't know where they went. They're not friends with us anymore. You find that there's nothing in common outside that company. And in real life, maybe we are different in very different ways. Probably we're different in our school of thought. We're different in our ways of faith. We're different in our, even like whatever life happening to us, it's happening to us in different ways. And this is something I experienced just the other day, where a friend of mine just reached out to me and was like, so, like, I want you to offer this particular service to me. And while they were talking to me, and these are some of the questions I've gotten on Instagram, on TikTok, where people DM me and they're just like, so how did you get into the career that you're in right now? And I find it very difficult to map out how I can explain that to them, because I have literally stumbled and learned things on the way. Up until now, I am literally in SEO, and I am only, I think, 2 years old in SEO. And I honestly can't explain how I stumbled into it. I just, this needed to happen. I took it up, I started doing it. I learned, I took up courses, and then here we are. And that has happened with so many things in my life. So when this friend was reaching out to me to do, for me to help them out with a social media client, I was just like, I have done social media before, but I did it such a long time ago, and I have stumbled through so many other things or other facets of marketing that social media to me is quite a distant past. And I realize that relates a lot to like what my friendships are like. So I knew you when this was happening in my life, and this was also happening in your life, but we've grown into very different people. And that is where I've always thought marriage is also wild to me, especially if you marry young, because don't people grow into different people? And you might find that you might be compatible at 22, but once you've grown, like at 30, if I can imagine 7 years back, gosh, I can't be the same person I was. So I can imagine when people are growing into different people within a union, it gets to a point where you are just, the compatibility probably loosens up, or it just disintegrates. So I would understand that that is how my friendships are based. I made a few notes just to remind myself. Let me see. So I've talked about seasonal friendships. growth in friendships and connections, I think that's the same thing. So you find that there are friends who I was friends with when I was doing social media. So they probably went into PR, I went into SEO, I went into, like people went into different ways. And sometimes, like, you just find yourself sitting and you don't have much to discuss in common, right? Yeah, so that's usually the issue for me. I've also realized this is like me just trying to do personality styles here and there, personality tests, I'm sorry. And I noticed that I have an avoidant attachment style. This I've always known. I'm always ready for flight. I don't know how to fight. So I also feel like probably this extends into friendships that I've had where if it just doesn't serve me anymore, or if I have to work hard to remember it, then I probably will just go ahead with my life and completely forget it. And I think it's okay for friendships to move from friendships to acquaintances. And that's okay. And that's why I always tell people, you and I don't always have to catch up. You and I don't always have to have these pleasantries. If you ever need anything that you think I can be of help with, call me and ask me for that specific thing. And if I ever need anything from you, I will call you and ask you for that specific thing. We don't need to be in touch. We don't need to do coffee dates. We don't need to check up on each other. We don't need to check up on each other's families. We can just grow from friendship to acquaintances, and it is okay. And this is usually, I find this as a very natural growth, because you usually just drift apart. It's not like you sit down with your friend and you're like, so this is the end. No, it's usually just you realize that you and this person have drifted apart, and you still realize that you're cordial with each other. You still love each other. You're still people who can rely on each other. It's just that, yeah, I don't know what aspect of it just doesn't make it natural anymore. It was easier. We were fond of each other earlier, but now we are not. And I think friendships are heavier on us than even romantic relationships, and we just do not realize it. Because friendships are a bit more wholesome. You share with someone your entire life, including your romance life. You share it with your friends, including things you're facing in the family. You share with your friends, right? So I think friendships are a whole load of work compared to any other sort of connections that we might make in this life. Here I also wrote hyper independence. That might be something that is also affecting my friendships, because as I had mentioned in an earlier episode, there's literally an entire episode on hyper independence, where you have been disappointed so many times. You needed someone to come through for you, and so many times people did not show up for you. So I think to just make sure that you don't go through this or things don't fall apart, you establish systems in your life where you are completely self-sufficient. And I think that extends into my friendships, where most of the time I just feel like I probably do not need this person. I just probably want them around. I like their company. I like what we share. I like what I'm gaining from them, what they're gaining from me. But most of the time, I just do not think of the friendship as this is this is my ride or die, this is my fortress. So I've never had those kind of friendships, and I think it's because also of my hyper independence. I'm always doing everything by myself. I think it can only be done best by myself. And on the point of hyper independence, let me see if I put a note down. Yeah, on the point of hyper independence, it also stems from having I say this all the time. I have been raised like a firstborn daughter in an African home. I took up so many responsibilities, and I think because of that caring and nurturing nature, I became a carer in so many ways. So you'll find me just taking care of things at all times. Like, this needs to be organized, this needs to be organized, I've always held myself together. And I think for that reason, I've always been a very safe and comfortable place to be. I've always been reliable, okay? Reliable, convenient, those are words I use to describe myself. They're words that I do not mind being, but they're words that I also completely do not like, because when people approach me and they're just like, oh, I want to be close to you because you're reliable and you're convenient, that to me is a red flag, because then I feel like this will be an invite for them to use me for the stability that I offer. So there's usually that. I just really can't balance it. Friendships are really difficult for me. So in the sense of that, I usually find that friendships are not so balanced. Yeah. So I I literally discussed this with someone I had a talking stage with, and I was telling them that um, I always, I don't know, it's in my nature. I'm probably working on it, and I'm proud of how right now I've been able to establish boundaries. I'm so proud of myself. But earlier on, I was the giver, the protector, the provider. Like I was always out there to take care of people, and I think that's why I had so many people at my disposal, but none who I could use for this particular reason. Like you're the kind of person who people reach out for everything. Like you're the fortress. And I got to a point and wondered, is this my superpower? Maybe this is how I give back to the world, and I do not mind. But since this cup that everyone is drinking from has to be refilled, then I have to put things like boundaries. I have to put things like self-love, where you just realize that here you are getting used and you're not necessarily being gaining from this. I don't know, it's not mutual. This connection is not mutual. So for me, the balance has always been tricky, and I just feel like in most cases I am the person to always offer. I am the person to always offer. Like if anyone was reaching out to me, they were reaching out to me for me to offer them something. It's not always monetary. Most of the time, it's always just even energy. And I told this to a friend of mine the other day, and I just told her, why I don't take your calls sometimes is that sometimes you think you're asking for something very little. Like, hey, I have people who call me and they're just like, Olive, I need you to psych me the fuck up. I'm going for this, Nini. I need someone who can just like give me a good pep talk. And I told her, to you, it might sound very easy that all someone is asking for is just like some good energy. But you do realize that I'm not always in good energy. Like I'm not always upbeat. And well, that's the person you interact with mostly. But I don't have this to offer all the time. I need, even me in myself, there are times when I need to psych myself the fuck up. And what I do is do that by myself. Again, the hyper independence comes in where you have to find everything that you need within yourself. And so I told her, sometimes I just don't answer calls because every time someone is reaching out to me, people want something. And I know that. And the not answering or the not responding or the saying no or the just denying of something, for me, that's the only way I get to replenish, I get to retain some energy, I get to even find more energy to give out to the world next time. But I've also asked my friend before, no, the talking stage person I was talking to earlier, and I told them that sometimes I'm not sure whether I just like probably my subconscious does not register in these relationships because you're always the one to give. Someone once told me that you only have crammed your parents' phone number because they send you money. Once you grow up and they stop sending you money, you realize that you will not have that number offhand. I thought they were bluffing at the time I was young. But honestly, right now I have to like sit for a minute to remember my dad's phone number, my mom's phone number. And those were all numbers like I had at the tip of my fingers. So I realized that, yes, so people could be sticking around because of what you have to offer. But then probably you don't remember them because they don't have anything to offer you, right? So maybe that's where the out of sight, out of mind mentality comes from, because usually when someone is helping you with something, when you rely on someone for something, you remember them very often and very fondly. But usually when this person has nothing to offer you, then you don't remember them. And it's not a bad thing. I think it's just humanly, I think that's just how humans are wired. But then I have just not been on the other side. I have never been on the other side where it's me who needs to rely on someone else. It's me who, even in times when I've needed to, I didn't think these people were in the capacity to come through. And in in the few situations where I've actually reached out and asked very specifically that you come through for me in this and this way, those particular requests were not fulfilled. And for that reason, I'm just like, maybe that's why my mind forgets. Maybe it's some self-preservation system my subconscious has to put out for me to survive in this world. So friendships have always been very, I don't know, it's just, it's not easy for me. I have talked about gaining from friendships. And I think this will be unfair, completely unfair to the people who are my friends, to the people who are around me right now. But I still don't feel like I've still not been able to like tear down my walls completely and trust somebody completely. Even with friends that I have right now, like the circle of friends I have right now have been consistent and have been there for 4 years now. That's the longest time I've been able to keep a friendship without trying. Others, you go a year, then you start, tutakutana lini, oh, can we make a date, oh, can we do, like, it's just a struggle to keep together, like you're holding on because I think the memories or the times you shared with this person are very fond in your head, and so you just hope like this is someone I don't want to lose because I shared a very special time with them. But then I've come to make peace with the sense that people can move from friends to acquaintances and there's nothing wrong with it. But then I personally am still struggling with the trusting, with the relying on, with the having, yeah. So as I said, probably I have had luck over and over and over and over again, and therefore that's why I say probably my superpower is being able to offer these things to other people. But I don't know if I am supposed to receive them, and if so, will I ever come to a point where will I ever meet someone, or will I ever come to a point, or will I have people in my life who don't consider me convenient and reliable? Like, it's not a bad thing, like those are really good qualities. But for once, I just want to be on the other side where I don't have to care for. Like, I don't have to take care of. Like, I don't have to be the fortress that stands strong and is the one that can be relied on and is the one that offers protection and support. I just like to be on the other side also and see how it feels to just for once not care. Just not care. Yeah, because I find myself taking up a lot of caring, even within like friendships that are completely lateral, where things like, so probably being a neat freak, I'll find myself at my friend's house completely organizing their houses because I'm just like, unaishi aje. There are things like, I've said this in a TikTok, like if we are packing for a trip, I basically like have to ensure people are even cohesive so that we are on time, so that we don't miss our flight or train, so that we are like just being the person who's very organized and has so much anxiety about things falling in place. Then you're the one who takes up the whole slack. You're the one who clears up, pulls up the slack for everyone else. And it's tiresome because if you have been cleaning up after people in your family, if you have been the one cleaning up after your relationships, your partner, your romantic relationships, friendships also to me have been a lot of work. And as I have grown and have started embracing a lot of laziness, I am very proudly lazy at this point in my life. I've thought on myself as I also just don't want to work for friendships either. If they come, they come naturally. If they don't, they don't. And there's a friend of mine who told me, why are you not reachable? Why do you keep to yourself? Why do you not reach out? And I was like, for the same reason. Because I think people reach out when they need something. And most of the time I don't. And I am grateful for that. It's a privilege to live in a life where you don't need things that much. You don't need help that much. And I am honestly grateful. Like, I couldn't ask for a better life. I am privileged and I am honored to be living a life where I don't need so much. And But at the end of the day, if you're not needing, then you're not reaching out to people, and usually you don't think about them, and usually they are the ones to reach out to you. But I said I'm establishing systems that work for my friends. And I told her one thing: if you reach out to me and you tell me, Olive, I have a dinner organized on the 30th of December at this and this place at 8 p.m. I'd want you to come, I will come. So that is one thing that people don't understand about me. I won't reach out to you, but if you want me, I will be available. So even if you want to just chat, you want to holla, text me and tell me, Olive, I just want to talk to you about this and that. Can we talk at this time? I will be available. My availability is very high, but I guess people just want the reciprocity. Yes, that's the word. People want it reciprocated. So if I reach out to you for lunch today, you reach out to me for lunch tomorrow. And usually you will wait. You will really wait. I will not reach out because I also just don't have that. And with that said, I'm sorry, but I really have awesome friends right now. Probably, I don't know if any one of them knows. I don't know if anyone knows. I don't know if I share publicly what people are my friends and who isn't, but I think I get to interact with them a lot on social media. Some of them, you've probably seen them in my highlights. I like do dinners and catch up on dates with them and like be at each other's houses. I have a really beautiful circle of friends right now. I love them to death. I would do anything for them. And I feel like I've gotten to that point where they also have a lot to offer. They offer the stability, they offer the comfort, they offer the encouragement. I really love that for once I'm in a circle of friends where, hey, Olive, you go, you do, I really want to see. And people who like just refer things to you. Hey, Olive, I saw this. I think you'd be really good at this. I don't think I've had that before. And I'm very, very, very grateful for the circle that I currently am in of friends. Whew, that was quite an episode. It's quite heavy, but it's one of the shortest episodes, 35 minutes maybe. But anyway, yeah, that is me and friendships. If you relate, first of all, please tell me your story in the comments. If you feel like there's something you're pointing out that's problematic for me, please put it down in the comments. I'll be more than happy. Or you can also DM me on any of my socials, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Orao Olive or Olive Orao. Both is going to be me. On Twitter, you can. But before I get to Twitter, probably it will take a couple of business days. And when I finally get there, I hope I'll see it. But usually Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, I should be able to see very fast. So you can reach out to me in the comments. Just tell me anything about this episode that you relate to, that you think that you want to point out, that you want to pick apart. I know my friends might not be happy about this episode, but I am just speaking my truth. It is my truth. And I hope they feel appreciated. I hope that everyone who has been in my life has felt completely appreciated. They have felt warm. They have felt safe. That even if we drifted apart, that we are not as close as we used to be. But I hope that you still feel that I still care and I still have the same love for you. I'm just I'm growing and I'm practicing boundaries and I'm practicing how to be safe for myself and how to make sure that even these people who we call friends also do not overstep and probably overshadow me into a place where I can't breathe. So at the end of the day, just trying to establish healthy distance between friends, even as we continue to be very close to each other. And with that said, thank you for coming to yet another episode. I will put out my next episode and I'll be talking about my lessons about turning 30. I am so excited about turning 30. You have no idea. But anyway, the next episode will be coming out exactly on my birthday, which is the 21st of November. And there we'll be able to talk about the lessons that I've learned about being 30 and why I am super excited about being 30. But until then, I love you, but I gotta leave you. My fabulous name is and will always will be Oliver Rao. This is In All Honesty Podcast. Bye.